Hi, I'm Thea. Everyone said I was crazy when I opened the first restaurant in a desolate Miami warehouse district. Now the whole world knows that as Wynwood. Then I did it again in Alapata. Ever wonder how a place goes from not to hot? Join me for a behind-the-scenes look at what really goes into igniting a neighborhood. We'll talk with the risk takers, the pioneers, the restaurateurs, the real sparks of neighborhood ignition. This is Thea's Neighborhood Magic. On this episode, I talk with Avra Jain, co-founder of the Vagabond Group, award-winning Miami-based development company focused on adaptive reuse and historic preservation. We talk about the challenges of converting a 6-acre former mattress factory into an event space, combining historic preservation with affordable housing, and how development done right connects to people and a sense of place. Avra, it's great to see you.
It's too long. We got to have a hall.
I'm so happy to get this time with you. So get comfortable.
It's mutual, by the way. It's mutual.
Avra, what you do is the antidote to boring cities. What elements have to be there for you to get into a deal?
By the way, every question you're asking me, I could turn them around back at you. So, because we speak the same language. So what does it take? It takes... Well, I find the deals, right? My own deals. And what I know for myself is space matters. So I'm not the person that's going to buy a cap rate on a multifamily deal or institutional, which is also a challenge because I'm not getting institutional funding, but then I do much better than institutional returns, right? So it's finding something special.
What does that mean to you?
You know what? Sometimes it's hard to tell. It's always an existing building, right? Because otherwise it's a piece of land. So it's always an existing building. There's always a story. So everything I buy has a story. Because if it has a story, then it sells itself. And most of the people that I'm trying to attract to the property care about those things. Like they're tenants that care about the space because they care about their brand. And if you have great space, it's much easier for the tenant to build a great business, right? So I think it's all I'll do because it's all I care about. And there's plenty of other guys doing other really great things, you know, the bigger developers that are my friends and they're doing great projects and that's a big space. And so I have my little niche, you know.
But you're not backing into any of this from a spreadsheet. These are very visceral deals that you do. Something speaks to you in each deal that you go into. And then successfully, you translate that specialness back to the world.
So sometimes I say, do I find space or does space find me? It is very visceral. So, you know, people ask me what's the secret sauce. I couldn't even tell you. I could probably give some good ideas. And usually what we've done, what you've done, it's been done before. We've seen it in our travels. I mean, gosh, Tony Goldman, nobody did it better. So, you know, so we learn by watching, we learn by listening. You know, what is it that people want? You know, rather than trying to create a space and have it be contrived and force it into something, usually what drives me to find space is people asking for it.
And your spaces really connect to people and neighborhoods, which is unlike other things that feel as if they land a spaceship in certain neighborhoods.
Yeah, I really don't understand that. And sometimes the spaceships are beautiful,
True.
but you know, architecturally, but yeah, so I don't know how to do a building. I only know how to do neighborhoods. And it doesn't, sometimes I'm coming into the neighborhood, like, you know, thank God for Craig Robbins, right? So I'm happy to own next to somebody like Craig, right? And would intentionally do that. I was a little bit later to Wynwood, but happy to be part of, you know, of Tony Goldman's original vision. So, and then there's times when we kind of are the leader of the pack, which would be Biscayne Boulevard, for instance. Not that other people weren't there, but let's just say we were the tipping point.
And I think that you created landmarks. People now use you as the direction. You know, oh, I'm near the Vagabond.
Yeah.
It's almost the Vagabond district.
That building was up for demolition.
How sad.
Imagine that. Imagine that corridor without that hotel.
So just describe that corridor is between
51st and 77th. It was a collection of these vintage motels from the 50s and 60s, half of them gone. When I went up there, it was all drugs and prostitution. I mean...
You're singing my song.
Yeah. Like, that's usually a good time to be buying, right? So I remember Gil Desert's dad said that, you know, when there's drugs, that's the next neighborhood. And I'm like going, okay, I did that once. So it was hard for people. There were these beautiful old motels. But people couldn't see past the working girl on the corner. And behind the motels were these fabulous neighborhoods. You had Belmead, you had Morningside, you had Palm Grove. So it wasn't like, this was a boulevard. This was US 1. It was the highway to the Magic City. And when they built 95, it went into disrepair and slowly declined, right? And so the thesis was that if we could buy a few of these motels and, let's say, stop where this bad behavior was going on. And it is unfortunate because it's the drugs that leads to the prostitution and, you know, no doubt issues of trafficking and things like that. So
and social issues you don't have to solve.
Yeah, you don't have to solve, but we wish you could. In the end, you're probably just moving it or at least making it more difficult. And so, you know, but in doing that, we bought a few of these old motels. The one next door said no refunds after 5 minutes. I'm convinced nobody ever took, by the way, I said 10. They widened it out and put in 5. I'm convinced nobody ever took a shower upstairs because if they had, they would have fallen through. Because when I went to renovate it, I pulled out like one stick and like imploded.
So that brings me to historic preservation,
Yeah.
which is a cornerstone of your operating model, is neither fun, nor cheap, nor easy.
Super expensive.
Yeah. And yet, Avra, you keep doing it.
Well, the city gave some incentives for Biscayne Boulevard. So credit to them that they gave some incentives with the transferable development rights because when you make a building historic, you can't develop the site. So you give up a lot of development rights. They gave you the ability to transfer them. That's built into the marketplace now. But that allowed us to do a $5 million renovation of a 20,000 square foot Vagabond Motel to the level that it needed to be renovated.
And you transformed the block.
Yeah.
You increased the tax base exponentially, remarkably so.
Yeah, we don't get credit for that, though.
I want to give you credit right now.
Yeah, no, in fact, we did a study. We called it the Vagabond Effect. And within 2 years, we increased the whole tax base.
I read it.
You read it, so then you know. And instead, all it did was raise our own property taxes, which I argued about for years. It's like, wait a second, why? I'm screwing myself.
So the point was that you were showing the effect of this gentle development that put that corridor on the map.
Yeah. Big credit to the people before me in 2006 who actually designated the boulevard. Because if it had not been designated, it wouldn't have happened.
So neighborhood magic never happens because of one person.
Yeah.
I always say that Wynwood didn't happen because of one person.
It's
it happened
collective.
because of hundreds of people doing smaller things
Smaller
over time and then the collective outcome.
But there's always a tipping point.
Sure.
Joey's Cafe would have been
Yeah.
for Wynwood. And for Biscayne Boulevard, it was certainly the Vagabond, especially because we did it at such a high level, which set the tone for the rest of the neighborhood. And and then the rest is, I mean, now it's baby carriages and dogs and Michelin star restaurants.
And that's really credit to you. And also the Miami River. That was early. Early and brave, yes.
Well, again, thanks to Sally Jude, who saved the property. Built in 1909, 1910. Remember, the charter for the city of Miami was only 1896. 440 people signed the charty, half of them Caribbean, Bohemian mix. Only city in the country founded by women.
What did this woman do on the Miami River? Tell me about the inn.
The inn. So Sally Jude had saved it, and then we just took it a step further and made it. It more than anything got people there. I'd been living here 15 years and didn't even know it existed. Like, if nobody's been to the Miami River Inn, you're missing a big part of Miami history, because the old wood vernacular buildings would have been the Flagler style buildings when he first came down, right? These cedar wood buildings. And so this collection of housing would have been really authentic Miami. And what we did was we brought food and beverage into the property with the container bar and everything. And so now people get to come in and see it. When you walk in there, it's an oasis. You're a mile from Brickell City Center.
I know.
And you're like in this like Key West, you're like, where am I?
It's amazing. And so historic preservation, you took that and then you decided to go and combine that with affordable housing.
You did your research.
So that solves a lot of problems, but I'm sure it also created a bunch of problems. How did that go in Little Haiti and in Overtown?
Well, I think, I was actually pursued by Mr. Liu, who headed up the affordable housing for the county at the time. Avra, you've got to do something. And the problem with affordable housing is it's too expensive to build.
It's not affordable to live in either because it's too expensive to build.
Right. If you gave me a piece of land, I still can't build you affordable housing, because if it costs you $300 a square foot to build it, I need to charge you. Let's define affordable first. So there's workforce housing, $2,500 a month at 120% AMI for a studio apartment. To me, it is not affordable.
I agree with you.
So when I got into affordable housing because the housekeepers at Vagabond were taking 3 buses to come to work. So we bought a building and we started to subsidize their rent. And then I'm like, well, this is everybody's got the same problem, right? So these are single moms, right? And who's taking their kid to work? Who's picking them up? Affordable housing is a social issue. We really need to stop and think about that. It's in everybody's best interest to solve this problem, especially the developers. And the problem is it's too expensive to build.
So what is the solution?
Somebody's got to write the check. And I would argue that we can't afford not to write the check, because that is what makes resilient communities. So instead of spending the money on affordable housing, what we're going to spend it on, kids that don't have after school, or that don't make it to college, or, health issues because of the housing conditions. I had one mother whose child had asthma, and they almost took the kid away from her because they didn't think she was getting the medicine. And then she moved into a healthy apartment. And so it's a social issue. We really need to address it. Everybody talks a lot about it. We don't need another survey on whether we need it or not. We need to spend the money and just build it.
You created 2 great projects, Little Haiti and Overtown. How did that go?
Painful, because I'm subsidized. I tried to do something and I open source it. I tried to do something that other people could do. So, I fund it. My architects do everything. We do everything for free. So I don't get paid, and I have to carry the job. So
it's unsustainable.
Unsustainable. I'm on my last building in the Overtown project. I'm carrying the project over $1 million. Personal money. That is not sustainable. And it's not that the CRA didn't give me a grant or this, but we're trying to really hit affordable housing at 60% AMI. The real estate taxes keep going up. I don't get real estate tax breaks. Insurance keeps going up. So your OpEx, all of a sudden you're not making any rent because of your OpEx.
So how do we put the smart people in the room and come up with a solution for this?
We have smart people in the room, and they know it. They know it can't be done. Unfortunately, people think, oh, well, the banks will lend for less, or you can build for less. You can't. We actually sponsor an affordable housing studio at UM focused on new building methods. So maybe Elon Musk will come up with the solution, but the problem is the materials alone, with the tariffs and everything right now, no way. And a reminder that this is affordable housing. I'm willing to contribute my time. Why doesn't everybody else contribute their time and expertise? Because even then, just the cost alone, just do everything at cost. And then you turn around to the government and say, I'm doing it at cost. This is what it is. I need you to write a check for this so that you can get your rent to here. Because it's just math. If you want your rent at $800 a month, I need to be in at $80,000 a unit. How do I get there?
So, Avra, I'm sure you've heard you don't fit the regular developer profile.
But because I braided my hair today.
Because you're thinking about affordable housing, historic preservation, and what's good for neighborhoods as opposed to what just works for the spreadsheet.
Oh, yeah. If you walked in with a spreadsheet in my office, I'd tell you to turn around and walk back. I mean, a spreadsheet, you can change the cell. I mean, I have a math background. I'm an engineer.
You do. I know.
A spreadsheet, you can change the cell and say whatever you want. It's going to cost me less. The absorption's faster. The rent will be higher. And the banks buy into, well, there was 20% last year. It's going to go up 20% next year. I mean, I don't look at real estate that way. I was a trader on Wall Street for 15 years, and I evaluate risk differently. It's like, well, what's the rent today? Not what do I think it's going to be tomorrow, and what does it cost to build? It's just very simple.
I think you know your customer very well. I think you're very attuned to the person that you're building for and creating for. That's a deep sensitivity, and you can't teach that. I know that you do teach a course at right?
Yeah, I mean, I lecture, I mentor there a lot. And, I really encourage, students to do what they like. It's great. The young people want to be part of the solution.
It's exciting, right?
It's exciting. I have to say, they want to be part of the solution, which is encouraging for me. And they want to be more innovative. I think I told you I was so excited when they named the directorship for the University of Miami Real Estate and Development Program after the Goldman family, because they want to be innovative. They want to be innovative. They want to be part of solutions. They want to be creative. So that's encouraging.
So talking of innovative and creative, I think your adaptive reuse of the factory is amazing.
Yeah. Hocus pocus, end of October.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So that's quite a vision, to walk into a 6-acre, decrepit, abandoned factory and think, concert venue. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean...
Hialeah.
Yeah.
1932 factory.
Yeah, 1940s factory. We found a letter. They did the cots. The Camus family did the cots for World War II.
Wow.
It was 180,000 square feet of dilapidated warehouse. And I insisted on keeping the walls. And first, partnership with the city of Hialeah. They were the ones that actually shared in the vision. They wanted to create an entertainment district within their city to keep the young people there. They had approached me and said, Avra, let us know if there's something you'd like to do. And then on the other side, I had the guys from space, David and Coloma and Davida, saying, Avra, we need to find a place where we can make noise. Every time people do cool things, they get squeezed out of neighborhoods.
Turn it down.
Yeah, turn it down. So they needed a place to turn it up. And so I married the two. And with the support of the city of Hialeah, they said, Avra, what do you want and how fast? Now that's a municipality that I can work with.
So, two things. We talk about Hialeah and people think, well, that's a whole other city. It is, but it's only 5 miles from
here we're 12
Wynwood.
Minutes away.
Yes.
We're 5 miles from Wynwood. People get there and they're like, oh my God, it was so close. We're used to the airport.
And so
location does matter. If you're going to do these cool things, you still can't do them out in the boondocks, right? Like I was like, going to Opelika is too far, right? But Wynwood was the center of the town. Hialeah used to be the center. a long time ago as Hialeah Hub. The historic train station is there.
Well, Hialeah is a real city with real people living in it.
The most dense city, actually. Fifth largest city in the state. But they had, they had the appetite. And first of all, there's a lot of trust, right? Mutual trust, right? So, thankful for that. And I think that's where track record mattered, right? They saw what I did on Biscayne Boulevard. Not everybody knew about what I had done back in the pawn shop days, but, when I bought the pawn shop and the property around the Performing Arts Center, there was nothing.
Which year was that, Avra?
2000. I assembled between 2000 and 2003. Then the eminent domain taking was 2005 to build the signature bridge that they're now building. But when I was there, there was nothing. Sometimes it's easier to go into neighborhoods, where there's more of a blank canvas than it is to go in. It's hard to change neighborhoods where there's already a lot of housing and a lot of things, because I only want to go where I'm wanted. And so back then it was good. Now where I am in Hialeah, it's industrial. The tenant, the Insomniac Live Nation, the Insomniac guys are so good. They spend the money on the directional speakers and the quality of the show.
So now you have tons of events. I saw it was used for Ultra. It's the ideal venue. Lots of events coming up. And how many people does it hold?
15,000. So when there's Ultra, we're the other venue. So there's Ultra and then there's Factory Town. 4 days, we had 60,000 people. No issues. People, it's such a joyful place. The other thing that we did there and again, let's go back to the spreadsheet, right? First thing we did was, what's going to make a property tells you what it wants to be. Again, you have to listen, right? And so here we are in Hialeah, industrial auto zone, not a blade of grass. So what do? I bring in 120, 20 to 50 foot trees. $400,000 just on transport, because the trees were rescued. Tree Resources got them from a farm that was being demolished for an equestrian farm up north. So what's the ROI on trees? I'm thankful to my partners like Chris Birch and Aaron Stauber and some people that said, let's do it, right? So lots of times in the deals that I do, the partners are very important to the success of the project, because they have to share it in the vision, but even more than the vision, in the values. Because who else is going to spend money on that and green infrastructure build and all that? But when people come to the property, they feel it.
So you recognize the inherent value in making these moves that you can't necessarily explain to people.
It certainly can't spreadsheet.
Exactly.
Right.
So, Avra, you've weathered a lot of highs and lows.
Yeah, I've been in Miami now 25 years.
Yeah. So what scares you? Is there anything left that scares you, having been through so many different cycles?
Well, I'm very aware of the cycles. One of the things that I made sure of, having ridden those cycles, is I'm better when I'm small. I was starting to do larger projects with other partners, other people, but if you're not in control, because sometimes, and I learned this as a trader, sometimes if you don't understand the market, you just need to get out. Real estate people don't think that way. They never want to sell anything. They want to hold on. I'll eventually be right. In Miami, that's probably true. But if things are happening and they start not to make sense, as a trader, I would just exit the trade, because I know I can always get back in. So I think that, when the credit crisis came, I said to my partners, you guys, this doesn't feel good. But it meant taking losses, and nobody wanted to take losses. And then in the end, we lost the properties, right? I was fortunate and, bought off my guarantees. Some of my partners declared bankruptcy. I mean, for us,
it got ugly.
That's a big no-no. So, I weathered the storms, and the lenders appreciated that. But it's staying small, staying boutique has been, and then trying to choose the right partners. Even then, you don't, finding the right partners is not easy, because what we do, what I do, you can't really put a value on it because it's not like there's somebody else that can do it, right? And so I'm very fair in my structures and setups and everything, but it's interesting how our job is to make it look easy.
Yeah, sure.
Right? And unless you have a lot of experience at doing this, you really don't appreciate the amount of work, the relationships involved, the expertise.
It's a three-dimensional, multi-headed monster.
Yeah, and people don't, I mean, I'm able to get the right tenants because the tenants trust me. I'm able to get the municipality to give me unlimited 24-hour liquor licenses because they trust me. All these things. So it's hard to put a value on that, and I think that that a lot of people, I have partners that appreciate it, and then I have some that always think that, well, I could have done this myself, and I'm like, I wish you could.
I relate to this very well.
Yeah, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm always okay with that. Then you should. And in fact, here's my playbook. Even if they have the playbook, the difference between me and a lot of other people, you may see it, I may see it, 40,000 cars a day driving by the Vagabond. Oh, I almost bought it, I almost did everything. In the end, it's the courage. It's not just the vision. It's the courage to do it when the working girl's on the corner. I took everybody out to Factory Town, all the coolest developers in Miami, all of them. You know them. And they were like, Avra, don't see it. We just don't see it. You've done a lot of crazy stuff. Even though you've done this 100 times, it's not even a question of when.
How many times have you been called crazy?
Oh, every deal. If I'm not a little bit nervous about what I'm doing, I probably shouldn't be doing the deal. Because that's where the value add is, right? If it was that obvious and that easy and everybody's bidding after the same property, I'm not going to be there.
Ignition really depends a lot on restaurants. And restaurants are not viable businesses any longer. And without restaurants, there's going to be a very silent center that's going to be present in all these neighborhoods. Don't you think that the future is landlords biting down on the fact that they have to partner with restaurants in order to keep the real estate at a high value and increasing, to support a tenant, for a tenant to be able to make a dime and pass on value to the consumer? How do we solve that?
Listen, I think, when we look at neighborhoods, F&B, we think drives neighborhoods. So we're looking at that, or Live Nation's looking at that for the Factory Town area. That's part of our master plan for the property. And so, you want a full ecosystem, right, in balance. So we are looking at that. I agree. Look at Little River. I think there's an example there. That was something I had worked on years ago, and now AJ Capital's doing a very good job of letting restaurants look at something, sort of lead the neighborhood. They did it very well in Nashville, and I think they're doing a very good job with Kyle here. So there's no doubt. I mean, that's one of the formulas, right? That's like a no-brainer. Look at Joey's in Wynwood, right? And then was the coffee place, right? So F&B drives neighborhoods. Arts drives neighborhoods. And when you put the two together, you create a community. But the question is what happens after that? And that's where it's helpful when it's one larger landlord, like when Tony was there, and you can keep some of the arts there, keep some of the small businesses there. A lot of times what happens is the people that make the neighborhood are the ones that get priced out. And so how do you manage that? And that's when a developer needs to think about community. We try to own enough so that we can keep that balance within ourselves, because, the guy next door, if he's going to get twice the rent with a mattress store, he's going to do it.
Of course.
Whereas it may not be the best, the right place in the right location next to the Michelin star restaurant next door, right, which you're subsidizing, right? So it's, or the pizza place for that matter, right? So how do you do that? How do you manage that? And it's the word curation gets used a lot, and that's really what it is. You know, Michael Phillips does it better than anybody that I know. Chelsea Market, Industry City, and you can have it all, but it has to be thoughtful, and you have to make everybody feel vested, and you know, and that's a lot more work than people realize.
Yes, but it's much more sustainable and it pays off.
Tenfold.
Right.
But again, you can't spreadsheet that. And the institutional guys don't realize that. And they come in and they see the rent and they just buy it based on the rent. But they don't realize what they just did was price out their tenant because they raised the real estate.
And then they end up having a scar on the real estate because it's a space with that's a changing door.
And it's empty. Yeah. So they don't even realize what they're doing. And it's like, it surprises me, actually, really how inefficient our industry is, given all the other stuff out there, right? All the other technology and all these other things. And it's like, it's the one industry where you see sort of the same, I don't want to say mistakes or missteps over and over again.
It's because there is an incredible chasm between the people doing it and the reality of what's needed in a neighborhood. Miami's future, Avra. What do you think that we're doing right? What do you think we're doing wrong?
What I can think of the things we can do better. We need to make sure Miami Foundation's doing a great job, making sure that our nonprofits have a home. That's really important to our social resiliency. I think we need to work harder on the affordable housing solution. I think the developers need to get together and be part of that solution, and with the commitment from the city to fund that check from the state level down. And I think charter schools are filling the gap. We need more. And, when we talk about social resiliency, we need to engage all of the community all the time. Resiliency is not a sea level rise issue. It's a social issue. And we always need to think as developers, how is our project and what we're doing contributing socially? And again, I'm really excited about the next generation. Let's just hope they can all afford to stay here and contribute.
Avra, thank you so much for being with me.
Oh, my pleasure.